You know, we think of the wilderness as this great escape, right? A place to get away from it all. But for some people, it's something else entirely. They go in with a map, a solid plan, and they come out with stories that they don't make any sense, and they're never the same again.
So today, we're going to dive into 4 of these stories. These are true accounts from people who went out into the wild and ran into something impossible, and somehow they survived to tell the tale.
I mean, think about it. You go hiking, you've got your marked trails, your fancy gear, you trust your compass, you're prepared. The biggest things you worry about are what? A sudden storm? Twisting an ankle? The woods are supposed to be a challenge, sure, but a challenge with rules you can understand.
But what happens when those rules just stop working? For a handful of people, that's exactly what happened. The predictable world they knew just vanished.
Suddenly, the map is useless. The trail you were just on, it's gone, replaced by a wall of trees that all look the same. It's like the real world just folded in on itself, and what's left is this silent, watchful forest that feels completely, intentionally wrong.
Okay, so let's get into these stories. Our first one is about a hiker who got caught in this impossible loop. For 9 straight hours, he walked in a perfect circle, even though his compass insisted he was going in a straight line. His compass was just spinning, totally useless. And every single time he finished one of these loops, there it was, the same exact lightning-struck pine tree. It was like a landmark mocking him, telling him he was trapped.
And here's the really weird part. It was a hot summer day, he'd run out of water, but right there, in that one spot, the air was freezing. I mean, so cold he could see his own breath. It just makes no sense.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This involves a couple of experienced campers. They go to sleep like any other night, but when they wake up, their tent is surrounded by a perfect circle of smooth black stones. And those stones were absolutely not there the night before. They check their gear, and both of their GPS units are just flashing error at the exact same time. And then they hear something. It's this low, rhythmic knocking sound, and it's coming from the trees all around them. Now, this wasn't some woodpecker. No way. This was slow, heavy, like something was deliberately knocking on the trees. And the sound, it was moving, circling them, always staying just outside the light of their campfire. All right, story number 3. This one's about a woman who was hiking a trail she knew really well, a place she'd been 100 times, and that's when she saw it, a figure standing perfectly still down the hill from her, just between the trees. It had the shape of a person, but it was off. The proportions were all wrong, its arms and legs just a bit too long. And it had no gear, no backpack, nothing. It was just watching her. She blinked, just for a second. And in that instant, it was closer. It didn't run, it didn't walk. It just was closer. So naturally, she freaked out and started running. But when she looked up, there it was again, the same figure, just standing there silently, ahead of her on the trail. It somehow got in front of her without her hearing a thing. And that brings us to our last story. This one is, well, it's about a hiker who walked into a patch of true, unnatural silence. I'm not talking about the peace and quiet of the woods. This was a total void of sound. No wind, no birds. You couldn't even hear the leaves rustle. Nothing. He realized he couldn't even hear his own footsteps. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. And it's in this complete vacuum of sound that he sees it. The shadows under the trees, they start to drip onto the ground like black tar. And then they start to flow, slowly but with purpose, right up the trail towards him. So you could imagine every single one of these people was pushed right to the edge. And then, just as suddenly as all this bizarre stuff started, it stopped. Take the hiker in the loop. He's dehydrated, he's delirious, and he just collapses at the foot of that stupid tree, basically giving up. He thinks it's over, but when he opens his eyes, maybe just moments later, the loop is gone. He's back on a trail he recognizes, right near his car, and his water bottle is somehow completely full again.
And the campers? They just bulldozed through that ring of stones and ran for their lives, not even looking back. They ran until they literally fell out onto a paved road, and the knocking was gone, replaced by the sound of a car. The woman on the trail, she just squeezed her eyes shut, and when she dared to open them, the figure had vanished. The trail was normal again, except her compass had melted into a lump of plastic. And the guy in the silent woods? He just scrambled away from those creeping shadows, pushed through some brush, and tumbled right into someone's backyard. A dog started barking at him, and it was the first real sound he'd heard in what felt like forever.
So yeah, they all got away. But nobody comes out of something like that okay. They didn't leave that experience behind in the woods. For every single one of them, their life is now split in two. There's the before, and then there's the after.
These experiences left some deep, permanent scars. The hiker who was trapped in the loop, he can't even look at a compass anymore without this feeling of pure dread. The campers, they jump out of their skin at any kind of repeating noise. The woman, she's always seeing tall, still figures out of the corner of her eye, even in a crowded street. And the guy who ran from the silence, he has constant tinnitus now, a ringing in his ears that he's convinced isn't just hearing damage. He thinks it's a piece of that silence that followed him home.
So you can see here just how these encounters stuck with them. I mean, it's just incredible. They're living proof that sometimes the biggest danger out there isn't getting lost on a trail. It's about what might find you when you're lost. They all went out there looking for a bit of peace and quiet, and instead, they found something truly haunting.
It really makes you think. Maybe sometimes the wilderness isn't just alive, it's awake, and it's watching.